Hello Year 4, welcome to your video all about time this week. You've been given pages 50 and 51 in your CGP book to have a look at, as well as some other time activities. And in this video we're going to be having a recap of digital time. We're going to have a look at 24-hour clocks and also solving time problems. And I've got some games to show you that can help you practice all of these skills. So to start with, I'm going to show you a game that you can play. Okay, so this is the game, and I will give you the link to this because there's loads of different levels on this game and slightly different versions of it that will help you practice time in all sorts of different formats. So we are going to have a look at level 4 to start with, but I do recommend you having a go at level 5 as well. So level 4, we're going to do the 12-hour clock, and we're going to do an untimed game just so that I can talk you through it. Right, so it's going to give us a time and we need to pick the digital time. Okay, so we'll do this one together. Now it's very, very nearly the hour hand, the little hour hand is very nearly on the 10, but it's not 10 o'clock yet. We are not there yet. So we're still in the hour of 9. Okay, and there's two options here. We're still in the hour of 9 because it's not quite at 10. But how many minutes is that? What is 10 times 5? Minute hand. The mighty minute hand is on the 10. 10 times 5 is 50. Let's check that from the 12. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. 35, 40, 45, 50. So it is 9:50, nearly 10 o'clock, but not quite. Now you have a go at this one. Pause if you need to, and I'll count to 5. Right, so think about the hour that we're in and think about how many minutes have passed. Now, some of you might be thinking it's this one, 1:06. But remember, 06 is telling us how many minutes. And this big 6 is telling us the hour. And that's not how many minutes, because we count the minutes in 5. So in fact, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 minutes have gone by because it's half past. It's half of the hour. So it should be 1:30. Have a go at this one. Right, so we're in the hour of 4. How many minutes past are we? 5 5s. Count round from here. It should be 4:25. Right, so I'm just going to stop the game there because you can have a really good go at this at home, and I really do recommend that you do, because you could go through so many questions and it'll be a really great way to practice. And obviously there's the harder level as well, which is to the nearest minute. I'm now going to talk to you about the 24-hour clock briefly, and then I'll show you some other games and questions that we can work through together. So let's just remind ourselves for a moment about a 24-hour clock. So as you can see on the screen, we've got an analog clock face, circular, and we've got 12 o'clock at the top, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then back up to 12. Now remember, on a 24-hour clock, which you normally see on a digital clock, sometimes if you have it set to 24 hours, when it gets to 12, so that's lunchtime, once it ticks over into the afternoon, instead of going back to 1, it will just keep counting. And the reason it's called a 24-hour clock is because it's logging 24 hours rather than just 12. And so after 12, it will go to 13. Now, if the hour is larger than 12, so 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, etc., we know it's definitely in the afternoon, because that shows us that there have been 12 hours in the morning, and then we're now counting into the second 12 hours in the afternoon. So 1 o'clock in the afternoon is 13 hours. 2 o'clock is 14, 3 o'clock is 15. Now, if you were trying to work out which hour of the afternoon or evening it was, if we were, for example, looking at 17:30 as a time, now what you can do is you just subtract 12 from the hours, and the reason you subtract 12 is because you are taking away the 12 hours from the morning, and it will then tell you how many hours into the afternoon you are. So 17 take away 12 would be 5, so that would be 5:30 in the afternoon. 17:30, 5:30 in the afternoon. The same with if we had 21:30. Okay, 21:30. If we wanted to work out what time that was, we'd take away 12 hours because that's for the morning. 21 take away 12 is 9, so then that would be 9:30. That would be 9:30 in the evening. Now, on the game that we've just played, you can set it to 24-hour time, so I'll just show you that quickly now. Okay, so when you come onto this game, you choose your level again. So again, I'd recommend level 4 or 5. I'll show you level 5 now quickly because I'm not going to play it. I just want to show you what the 24-hour looks like. So I'll go on to level 5. So you choose your 24-hour clock this time instead of 12. And this time what it does is it will show you the analog time, but if you notice it will tell you underneath whether that is AM or PM. Remember, AM is the morning, PM is the afternoon. So that will give you a clue as to which digital time it needs to be. Now, because this is level 5, it's to the nearest minute. You can see that you need to count along from the nearest 5 and then count in ones to find out where we are. So that's actually 29 minutes past 9, and it's in the morning. It's at 9:29 there. But if it said PM, then obviously your hours would be greater than 12, and you'd need to work out which would be the correct one to match. All right, so I'll put all of these links underneath the video so you can have a go at that, but do have a go at the 24-hour clock. You can go straight onto that if you think you don't need to do the separate 12-hour game. It's really good, a really good way to practice. Okay, we're going to have a look at a couple of the questions that were in your book now. So the question you can see on the screen is from your CGP book. It says a film starts at 3:55 p.m, it ends at 5:40 p.m. How long is it? So you have to write down in hours and minutes the duration of the film, so how long the film is. Now I'm going to work through a similar problem with you on paper. I'm not going to do this exact one because I'll leave you to do that, but I will do a similar one on paper so I can show you how you could go about working this out. Okay, so I'm going to work out if a film starts at 2:45 and ends at 5:30. So similar to the one that I just showed you, but slightly different times. So you can work this out on a number line, or you can kind of think of a number line in your head if you don't want to write it out. But what you need to remember when you are adding on time is that you don't just continue to add kind of willy-nilly. You need to think about how, when you're reaching a new hour. Okay, so you need to think about how, if your minutes are going up, so if down the bottom on this line, we've got o'clock here, whichever o'clock that might be. And so say if you were on, say, 20 minutes and you were adding on 50 minutes, then I could add that in tens, 50 minutes, so that'd be 5 lots of 10. So we've got 10, 20, 30, 40. Now 50 would reach here, but at this point, when we reach 60 minutes, it changes to another o'clock, and the hour becomes a new hour, and then you're counting new minutes of a new hour. So you just have to be careful that you don't confuse yourself by getting to, for example, 60, 70, and then be thinking, oh, 70. And we don't normally write a time down as 5:70. Okay, so to always think when you're adding on time, when you reach those next hours. Okay, make sure you're working up to 60 minutes and not just counting on and on and on and on. So 2:45. Now I'm going to make it up to the next hour to start with. So I'm going to make it up to 3 o'clock, okay, which is 15 minutes. And so I need to reach, let's write that in as well, I need to reach 5:30. So I need to think of another chunk that I could add on. I'm going to just add on 2 hours. You could probably do the whole thing in another chunk, but I am going to just do it like this to show you. And then we've got the 30 minutes here. So now the next bit you need to do is obviously add up the jumps that you've done and what you've added on. So I've got my 2 hours, and I would always start with adding the hours first. So I've got 2 hours, and then I've got 15 minutes and 30 minutes. So the total for that is 2 hours and 45 minutes. Okay, that's how long the film was using my times. Okay, so that's not the same as the answer in your book. This is just the one that I've done here, but you can use the same idea to help you when you're working yours out. So just remember, as I said, when it reaches 60 minutes, that does change it into a new hour. So just bear that in mind. Right, let's have a look at the next thing. Right, so we're back to the bear game. Now I know we've played this already this week, but it's got so many different types of this game, and it's got some really brilliant time problems that we can work out. So we've come back to the bear game, and I'll put the link so you can have a go as well. So we're on to the panda bear this time. Now we're going to start with level 4. We're going to be doing some of level 5 in a minute, but we're going to do level 4 first so I can show you. Now the good thing about this game is that you can choose to have the questions in an analog clock or a digital clock, and the answers as analog and digital as well. So you can have a really good mixture. You could have all analog or all digital or mixed up. I'm going to start with all analog just to show you. Now this is going to be a bit of a recap from the first video this week. So we're going to tell the time, and then we're going to add on the time that we need to. So first of all, before we read Panda's problem, let's have a look at what time it is. So I would like you to have a think when we're doing these questions. What is the time? And then what is the answer when we get there? So think about now, what is the time? Okay, so we're in the hour of 9. And how many minutes past 9 are we? We are 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 past 9. Okay, that's the time. Nicholas goes to the park at the time shown, so 25 past 9. He plays cricket for 55 minutes. When does he go home? So 55 minutes, okay? We need to add on 55 minutes to work out when he's going to go home. Now, as that's in 5s and the minute hand is right on a multiple of 5, the easiest thing to do is probably count along in 5s. So let's count up to 55. Count with me. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. So the blue hand would move all the way around the blue mighty minute hand to get to the 4, which is 20 past. Now can you see we've nearly gone all the way round, but we haven't quite. 55 minutes is nearly an hour, but not quite. So if our blue hand is going to be on the 4 now, we can see down the bottom that there's 3 answers where the minute hand is on the 4 for 20 past. But what hour are we in? We were in 9, but if we kept on going round, if we got to the top, it would become 10 o'clock. And then we continue round here to 20 past. So we'd be into the next hour, which in the next hour is 10. So 20 past 10. So which clock is right? Point to the screen if you can see it, 20 past 10. That's right, it's down here, 20 past 10. Right, so I'm just going to show you level 5. You can do more of the level 4 on your own computer in your own time. So level 5, so this is any time up to 60 minutes, so it won't be such round numbers to add. Now this time I might do digital to digital, but you could try doing a mixture when you play. Okay, so it will give us a digital time on the big clock now. Oh, that's a nice one to start with. It takes 5 minutes to get from Warwick to Wilmcote on by bus. Albie begins his journey at the time shown. When does he arrive? Now, I'm pretty sure you can answer this one probably just as quickly as I can. So 6:41, and we need to add on 5 minutes. Okay, because he begins at 6:41 on the bus and it only takes 5 minutes. So can you see the answer? I know I can. Of course, it's 6:46. Let's see if we can have one that's a little bit harder. Okay, this is a bit better. Alessandra plays on the computer for 36 minutes. She began at the time shown. When did she stop? So she begins at 10:34 and then she plays on the computer for 36 minutes. Now this one is a bit trickier. Now you could work this out using a number line like I just showed you on paper. But you could also work this one out in your head. And actually, if we have a look at the time on the big clock, 10:34, we're adding on 36 minutes. So if we forget about the 4 minutes for a minute and think of it as 10:30, if we added on another 30 minutes from 10:30, add on 30 minutes, and then we can think about those extra minutes in a second. So add on 30, and then we've got the 6 minutes, and we've also got the 4 that we need to not forget. So what would it be first of all? 10:30, add 30 minutes. So 10:30, add 30 minutes would make it up to 11, but we've got the 6 minutes because it's actually 36 minutes, and we've got the 4 minutes that are already on the big clock. So another 4 and another 6 minutes together. So add on the 4 and the 6. So we're on 11. We need to add on 6 and 4. Knock the door. Brings us to... It brings us to 11:10 because that gives us another 10 minutes. Did you get that one right? I hope so. We're going to stop there and you can play more of that yourself. I'll put the links to all of these, as I said, underneath the YouTube video. So we're going to have a look at another couple of questions from your book now to help you with those. Right, so for question 2, 3 and 4 that you can see on the screen, it's all about, it needs you to do a bit of conversion, a bit of converting between maybe seconds and minutes, or minutes and hours, or even days and weeks and months and years. So to answer these questions, you need to make sure you're clear on how many seconds in a minute, how many minutes in an hour, how many days in a week, I think we can probably work that one out, and how many months in a year. Now, we've gone through some of the time games, so hopefully you would have realised this already, but just in case you're not sure, remember it is 60 minutes in an hour, 60 seconds in a minute. Okay, it's 60, not 100, which it is when you think of kind of grams and kilograms, it's all hundreds and thousands, and it's much rounder numbers, but it's 60 with time, so keep that in your head. For number 3, it mentions changing 80 days into weeks and days. So think about how many days we have in our whole week, and then how many times that number goes into 80 and what's left over. And then with our snail as number 2, you need to just work out how many months are in 1 year and then how many would be in 3 years. Now, number 4 is interesting. I quite like this problem. I'm going to show you how to break this down on paper. I'm not going to answer it all because I'd like you to do that, but I will show you how to make sense of it. So as you can see here, I've written out the problem in a number line. So the problem says, the question says for number 4, Jane starts making a cake at 2:30 p.m. Okay, 2:30. She whisks the mixture for 120 seconds. Then she leaves it to settle for 30 minutes. Interesting, it's quite a long amount of time. And then she puts it in the oven for 1 hour and a half. So you need to work out what time it will come out of the oven. But along the way, you'll need to be kind of tallying up the times until we get to the end. Now with this one, it's very sneaky and mean, this problem, because it's given you seconds, it's giving you minutes, and it's given you hours. So what you need to do, and this applies to all many questions in maths, and if you're doing fractions, or if you're doing you're adding other types of measurements, so grams and kilograms, it's always best to put it in the same unit, so that put it in the same range. So for example, if we're doing seconds, we could put them all as seconds, or if we do minutes, we could put them all as minutes, because then it's just easier to add. Okay, so if you were adding some kilograms and grams, it would probably be easier to either have them all as grams or all as kilograms, because it just makes it a bit simpler. So the first thing you need to do here is convert some of these so that you can add them more easily. And now what I recommend is that you change the seconds here into minutes. Okay, because then actually if you change the seconds to minutes, you can add on however many minutes that is. Then you can add on these number of minutes, and then you can probably just add on the hour and a half. But you do need to know how many minutes in half an hour. Okay, so you need to know how many minutes in half an hour, and you need to know how many minutes is 120 seconds. Remember, there's 60 seconds in 1 minute. Okay, so I hope that helps you to tackle question 4, and just lay it out visually. I always do that with maths problems because it helps to get my head around it. Right, I hope that gives you the answer, and I look forward to finding out what the final answer is. So you've used this in school, I am sure, so you'll probably recognise it, but I just wanted to remind you of it, and I'll put the link under the video so that you can use it, because if you're struggling with any of the time problems, or you just want a visual aid, this is really brilliant. So you can move the hands of the clock, and as you move the hands of the clock, you'll notice that the digital clock changes as well up the top. So it shows you the relationship between the analog time and the digital time, which is excellent. You can also turn on 24-hour clock, so it can help you to work out how to read 24-hour digital time. You can also turn off the digital clock altogether. So somebody could give you a time, and then you could work out what that time would be as a digital clock, and then see if you're right. So you can use it to kind of test yourself, or get someone to test you. And you can also use it to work out the duration of something. So for example, if we were starting on 3:10 or 15:10 in the afternoon, and I wanted to imagine if someone had got on the bus at that time and they were on the bus for 25 minutes, then what I can do is I can set the time there, and I'll reset this timer down the bottom, and I'll add on 25 minutes, and it will help you, it will count up, so you can go as far as 25 minutes is, and then you'll be able to see what the new time has been. Okay, so you can use that to help you as well. So don't forget this resource, it's brilliant. And the last thing I want to show you is this hot chili challenge. Now this one is all about different digital times. So let's read it through, and then I'll try to explain it the best I can. How many times will you see a consecutive digital time on a clock? Consecutive numbers follow each other in sequence. For example, 1, 2, 3, or 7, 8, 9. Okay, so numbers that go straight after each other in order. How many digital times can you find? The numbers can be consecutive, going up or down. So you're looking for digital times that have the numbers are consecutive. So for example, you could have 1:23, and as I said, they can go down as well. So 3:21. So that goes in the correct order. So you couldn't have 124 because you don't normally count 1, 2, 4. So it has to go in the order you would count up or down. Now 789 is a consecutive run of numbers, but you wouldn't see 789 ever written on a digital clock. So you have to find the times which are actual possible digital times that you would see. Okay, so it wouldn't just be every possibility with consecutive numbers. You need to think carefully about whether you would actually see that on a clock. Now, see how many you can find. Email me any answers that you can, and I will see who manages to find the most. Now, I hope this video was useful again, doing some more activities about time. Remember, there are some more activities, enrich activities on the learning grid that Mrs. B sent you. And do let me know if you've got any other questions. Thanks for listening.